Okay, so welcome to our webinar focusing on student management geared towards our admin users of the site. And typically admin users are going to be whoever is responsible for managing your school's account. It can range on who that is in your building. But for people who have an admin account on the homepage, you'll know that you have this admin button over here on the right. And first, I just want to quickly highlight a few of these admin settings in case you're not familiar with them. The first one is where you can decide if you would like teachers to be able to give themselves admin privileges or not. So some schools leave that open to where any teacher can decide, yes, I would like to have admin access. Other schools prefer to limit that and better manage which teachers have an admin account, just because the red flags that can happen when too many teachers have an admin account is we've had teachers go in and delete students and not realize they were affecting the entire school. So it's just not really necessary to have a lot of admins. So it is a good idea if you can disable that, but there are times when you may need teachers to give themselves an admin account. Also, we have one allow students to create, edit their own user accounts, and that's kind of what we're going to focus on specifically is student management. So if you are, it's the beginning of a school year, so you may need to bulk upload your students. You might need to promote existing students and upload only new students. So we'll talk about a couple different ways that can be handled. And then also we have a setting here where if your school or your district blocks Vimeo, that's where we host our instructional videos. So if students are not able to watch any of the videos and there's a school-wide problem with being able to do that, then you can just simply check this box, and then that way the videos will come directly from our servers and not from Vimeo, in case that is an issue with your district. But again, that would only be something that you'd want to check if students are having a problem with all videos. If they just come across one video in particular that's not working, but the rest are, then that's not going to be a Vimeo problem. That's going to be a problem with that specific video. And you can let us know and we'll look at it on our end. And then we also have an encryption option. Our passwords for students and teachers are stored in plain text on the site. So that means that teachers can look at their students' passwords. As an admin, you can view student and teacher passwords. So that's something that you want to encrypt, so that way no one is able to see what those passwords are, including USATestprep staff. Those would be encrypted as well in our database. Then that's something you can check. Just know that there are some additional layers that come with that. It's not as easy to say, oh, hey, what is so-and-so's password? They can't remember, and a teacher can quickly look it up. Instead, every time a student or a teacher forgets their password, it has to be completely reset. So it's a little bit more involved, but we do have that as an option if you ever need that. Okay, so we're going to go through the Students tab here. And the first thing I want to go through is how to bulk upload students. Especially this time of year, this is a question we get all the time about how to do a bulk upload, and we have different issues that people run into. So I just want to go through kind of the common mistakes that are made with the bulk upload and just some different tips that might help. And then after we do the upload, we'll look into how to promote students in case you don't need to do an entire bulk upload, but you just want to move students from one grade to the next. All right, so within this I want two options, a drop-down menu here. The third one down is to bulk upload students. So let me go ahead and click that. And it's going to open up this pop-up to where you have an Excel and a CSV template that you can use. Just to let you know, our CSV files right now are not working. there's kind of a bug with those, so our programmers are working on enhancing this entire system actually. But for right now, you would need to use an Excel spreadsheet and not CSV. Then there are some general guidelines here, like usernames and passwords have to be at least 6 characters in length. Only letters, numbers, and certain symbols are allowed. This is a really important one, in that in our spreadsheet, there's more than likely going to be columns that you do not need. For example, student email address or middle initial. You know, very few schools actually use those columns, but you don't want to delete those columns out of your spreadsheet. And it's really important that you don't rename the columns or put them in a different order, because then your file will come back with an error message that, you know, it can't be uploaded. All right, so let me go ahead and show what the file looks like. So I'm just going to click on this Excel link and download. And so this is a very, you know, basic spreadsheet. You have username, password, ID number, first, middle initial, last name, email, and grade. Now there's only 3 things that are actually required here that have to be filled in for all students, and that is the first name of a student has to be filled in, and then you also have the last name must be filled in, and the grade level. All right, so once you have filled in those, you're technically done. You don't have to enter in anything else. Everything else is optional. A lot of schools use ID number, which doesn't display anywhere for a student or for a teacher just looking at their class, but it does display on exports of results. So if you're looking at benchmark results or assignment results, the ID number will be there in case you have, you know, a large student body and you have 2 John Smiths. You know, you can look at the ID number as a reference for determining which student is which. And the username and password fields are actually optional here as well. You're more than welcome to enter in a username or password that you would like students to use on the site, but I'm going to show you in a second to where our system can actually do that for you. All right, so as you can see, even though I don't, let's say, need these other columns here, I'm going to leave them all intact. So I'm not going to, you know, rename these or delete them or change the order. Leave everything just as it is, but make sure again you have the first name, last name, and grade level all completed. And then once you have filled in that information, you'll come back here. And first, let me upload one where I do have usernames and passwords. So here's my file, my Excel file. I have usernames, I have passwords for all the students, first name, last name, and grade level. So I'm going to go ahead and upload this file. So I'll say choose file, and I'm just going to show where that is on my computer. Okay, so then these checkboxes here are not going to apply to me. I don't need the site to create the username or password or send an email to students because, again, my file already has the username and password in here. So I'm just going to click to upload students. Okay, now in this case, it says I have one line that had an error. So at this point, if there's something wrong with your file, such as a student is missing a grade level, or in this case, the username is not long enough. So it's going to tell you specifically what the problem is. It might be that the username is already taken. If you try to upload a student with a username that's already in the system for your school, it's going to reject that file because of that duplicate student, and you would have to remove them out of your file. What we're working towards is a system where you could have duplicates in your file and it would detect those and it would just let you upload everybody else. But right now you have to go back in and actually fix it in your file first and then come back here to upload it. But in this case, I can actually go ahead and just fix this in line. So I'm going to add characters so that I have 6 characters in the username and click resubmit file, and I get a confirmation that 102 students were added. So I'm going to close out. I'm going to automatically see those students there. So that's how you'll know that the bulk upload worked. You'll get that number of students uploaded and you'll instantly see them. There's not going to be a delay and when they'll show up here. All right, so let's say, let me bring over another window here so I can show what it would look like if you did not have usernames and passwords in your spreadsheet. So bear with me 1 second. Okay, so here I'm going to drag over another example. Okay, so here's a school. I already have some students, but that should be fine. Let's say I need to upload a bunch of new students. All right, so the file I'm going to upload this time, as you can see here, there's no username and there's no password. Instead, I have first, last, and grade, which is all that's required. So that's the one I'm going to choose. And let me just show, if I try and upload it, what's going to happen. It's going to tell me I have all of these errors, okay, because I don't have a username or password. So that's the great thing about these checkboxes. Let me close out of that. Go back to bulk upload. And I'm going to choose my file again. Okay, so what you'd want to do if you don't have the username or password in your file is you can click to auto create. And then you'll have some few choices to look through. Most commonly, schools like the first dot last for the username format. Again, because very few schools actually use a middle initial. And then for the password, you can have it as 6 random characters. You can have the student's first name plus 4 random, or you can choose other and you can actually type in what you would like all the students' passwords to be. So it just depends what you want to do. I would just caution having the same password for every student if the username is something that's easily guessed. So for example, if it is first dot last, it could be very easy for a student to figure out other students' login versus if the username is something more unique, like an ID number, and then it would be a little bit safer to have the same password for all students because they may not know each other's ID number. All right, so in this case, I'm going to have it choose 6 random characters, and I'm going to upload students. And so now I get the same confirmation, and I see them in the list here. Okay, so that is how you'd want to do the bulk upload. Again, the keys are to upload an Excel file, and again, you only have to have first name, last name, and grade level. Now you might be wondering, so these students, they all have random passwords. How are they going to know how to log in? And that's where it really comes in handy for when teachers create their classes and add students into those classes. Let me show real quickly as a teacher what they can do to help students get their login information. So once the teacher creates their class, they add students, they can go into Manage Class, and they'll have their list of students here, and they have a password cards button. And that password cards button will generate a password card for all of those students to where they can log in and know what username and password they should be using for the site. All right, so let me go back into admin here. Okay, so that's how to upload students, but you might be in a position where you just need to promote students from one grade to the next, because if you promote students, then it's going to keep all of that data in their account and in your teacher's accounts, versus if you were to delete out all of your students and then re-upload from scratch, that data will be lost. So the bulk upload is great for new students who don't have an account, or if you're a school that is starting fresh, or you just subscribed and you don't have students in the system yet, then the bulk upload is a great way to get all of those students in there at once. And if you do the bulk upload, it is best if you don't allow students to create or edit their own accounts. I would recommend unchecking that, just so that what happens if this is checked is that students, if they forget their username or password, oftentimes they will create a separate account. And that's very confusing for the teachers, because then you end up with duplicate accounts for the same student. So if you have that disabled, then a student cannot make their own account. They would have to be either bulk uploaded, or they could be added individually by an admin. All right, so let's go through promoting for the last few minutes. The first step you want to do when you promote students is you'd want to get rid of your students who are no longer there. So if you are elementary, more than likely this is going to be your 5th grade students if they were, they've graduated from your school, or if it's middle, more than likely this is your last year's 8th graders, or for high school, your last year's 12th graders. Obviously that's going to vary by school. So you'd want to click the Filter Students link, and you'd want to go to students in the highest grade level who are no longer there. So I'm going to choose 8th grade and click Go. Okay, so I have 5 pages, as you can see down here, and it's kind of tedious because you have to go page by page. So what I would recommend doing is to expand up to 100 students per page, so that way you can knock it out a lot quicker. So here's all of my 8th graders who are no longer there. Let's say you do have a couple of students who were retained. When you check the box to select all the students, you can always uncheck, specific ones who don't need to be promoted. So for these students, I'm going to go ahead and go to bulk delete, because I'm not promoting these students. I just want to delete their account since they're no longer at the school. And you'll just type in the word delete to confirm. Okay, and so now I'm left with those 2 8th graders who are still in 8th grade. So the next thing to do would be to go to 7th grade. And that's really the key, is to make sure that you start at the top and work your way down in grade level. If you start by promoting your 6th graders to 7th graders, or you start promoting your 9th graders to 10th graders, but you haven't yet promoted last year's 10th grade class, you're going to wind up with 2 grade levels all mixed in together, and there is really no way to undo that. So just make sure you start at the top and work your way back down. So now I'm going to go to 7th grade, click Go. Okay, and again, I'm already expanded up to 100 per page. And if you have a large list of students, you might even at 100 per page have multiple pages that you need to do this for. Because when you select the students, it only selects the students on page 1. So if you have 3 pages, you'd have to do this 3 times. So you'd want to do page 1, then go to page 2, promote those students, and keep going until you're done. All right, so here I'm going to promote to another grade. So these were last year's 7th graders. They are now in 8th grade. And I'm going to save. And so now, because my filter is set to 7th grade, I don't have anybody there because I just moved them up to 8th grade. And you can always check that by filtering your 8th grade students, and then you'll see them all listed. And then the last step would be to go to last year's 6th graders. And just again, make sure that all those students should be promoted. I can uncheck again any if I need to, and then promote to another grade, and they're moving up to 7th. Okay, now I'm just left with that one 6th grader. I can go to 7th grade to again make sure all those students were promoted, which they were. And then at that point, the easiest thing to do would be to do a bulk upload of just your new incoming students at your school. So in this case, I could go ahead and upload all my new 6th graders or all your new 9th graders at your school, and then you'll have everyone there. It's pretty painless, and you keep all of your data that way when you promote students versus just deleting everybody and starting over. So I know it's about 3:20, and about 20 minutes was the max time that I wanted to spend going over everything. But again, this is recorded. I will send out an email with the link. And if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer those now, and make sure that I address any questions that anybody has. Again, it doesn't have to be something related to this topic. It could be related to something else. I would encourage you, before I stop the recording, to check out our webinar scheduled for this Wednesday afternoon, and that specific webinar is going to cover our new features and changes on the site since the end of last school year. So I would definitely encourage anyone to sign up. Even if you can't attend the live session, we'll always send out a recording, even if you register and don't have the time to get logged in. So again, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in. And if any questions come up, please let us know.